Today we are doing our first episode that was recommended by a fan.
I have a list of 3 movies that I guess that you would pick. This is one of them.
All right, do you want to steal someone's player, or do you want to go with what you want? But then,
If I steal your player, then I'm at risk of you taking somebody I wanted the very next turn. That's
Right.
the lesson I learned in the action movie.
and I was like, oh my God, that is the perfect pick. I'm going to add that to my list and I'm going to draft it before you.
I didn't have to say that. Why did I open my mouth, dude?
go.
Why did I-
Welcome to Backseat Directing.
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew.
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on today's episode, we're doing a sci-fi movie draft.
3, 2, 1, action.
Andrew, today we are doing our first episode that was recommended by a fan that wasn't one of our immediate friends.
So with this...
We met this guy through the podcast.
Which, so exciting. I'm so glad that we have people that enjoy the show.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to McNeil. McNeil messaged us on Instagram, and we talked about you in a couple episodes ago and thanked you for watching so many of our drafts, supporting and commenting the show. And you recently messaged us, actually just like 12 or 13 days ago or so as
Probably
of
like
recording
2 weeks, yeah.
So pretty quick turnaround, I would say, for us taking
not too
the
bad.
submission. So we are just now getting to your suggestion, which was to do a sci-fi or science fiction movie draft. So
Yeah, let's go.
we've done a lot of draft episodes in the past. The concept, I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with, even if you haven't watched the show before. But we will flip a coin to see who goes first, and we'll go back and forth picking movies one at a time to develop a team of 5 and see who can get the strongest team of 5 movies. Subjective, of course, but we want you guys to vote after the episode's over for which team you thought has the best collection of movies. Now, we're limited to science fiction movies, but the other rule we're going with here is we're not doing any superhero movies. A lot of superhero movies can fit into multiple categories, like Iron Man could definitely be seen as science fiction.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, it's kind of in its own genre.
Yeah, a genre of its own too.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like, I won't even say that. I won't affect your list, but we'll talk about it if it comes up. There's another movie that a section of movies that I feel like have their own categories, but overlap a little bit with science fiction.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a gray area. We're going to talk about it as we go along, like what is versus what isn't science fiction.
So I did actually look up, because that was one of the things that I was having a hard time like forming my team, was like, what is science fiction? You know, like what can classify? It seems like this huge, broad topic.
Yeah, because science is like everything if you twist it, and
then
fiction is just a story.
Anything that's made up.
Yeah, just a made up story. So you can make an argument for a lot.
Yeah, so I found this thing on Google. It's one of the first things that pulls up when you type in what is sci-fi movie, and it has 7 elements to a sci-fi movie. And I use this as like kind of a guide, and I don't think this gives away my team at all necessarily, but it gives me a guide to like kind of check off to see if these movies check off this list. We got time travel is one of the elements. Teleportation, mind control, telepathy, telekinesis is another point that they had on here. Aliens or mutants, space travel and exploration, interplanetary warfare was another point, parallel universes, and fictional worlds. So like that's kind of the criteria I had in my head when I was picking through these movies.
I feel like there's like a clear delineation for me between the fantasy and science fiction, because fantasy does have like alternate worlds, but to me the science element's really key. Like something like you said with exploration, science, technology, you know, like the STEM field, like engineering, mathematics, something like that.
Less like magic.
Yeah, and then also like it has to be like an element to me outside of reality to be science fiction, because like The Imitation Game or something like Oppenheimer that heavily involves science, I don't really feel like is science fiction. It's just science,
something that can't necessarily happen in the real world.
Those are science nonfiction, because they're both true stories,
right? But easily could have been made up.
Yeah,
you know, so like
there's I'm sure examples out there.
Right. Yeah. So like something that can't happen in the real world kind of pushes it into that science fiction category, at least for the purposes of our draft.
But let's jump into this draft and flip our coin to see who's going to get the first pick.
Yeah, so that's the first part that we got to do is we got to figure out who goes first. I have a $50 coin here. We got heads and tails. I don't know, but it seems like Andrew always gets 80% of these to go his way. Would you want to go first or second?
Always gets 80%, 60% of the time.
Yeah,
it works
always.
every time. I definitely want to go first for this one. Yeah,
Okay, heads or tails, call it in the air.
heads.
That was a late call, boy.
I tried to let it fall. I tried to see where I was trying to.
Tails. How about that?
I got bad vision, so my vision.
Got to clean off those glasses there a little bit.
So you're choosing to go second?
Nope, I'm gonna go first here.
Weird.
Yep. If you would have said that you wanted to go second, I probably would have stole that from you.
Mind game.
But
maybe that's not what I wanted.
yeah, well, I feel like it was. You sounded pretty genuine. I feel like I kind of wanted you to go first on this, just so I can get like a feeling of like
I'll let you change
the
it
movies that you're going
if you
for.
wanted to. I have a long list here and like a lot of honorable mentions too. So like
Yeah, like it feels like almost any movie could fit into this draft.
a lot can.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pick one that was part of this to me when I think of science fiction is just like the cinematography that goes into it. Like I want to be encapsulated into the universe, into this new world. And that's it right there. I want to see things that I don't see every day. I want each location to be unique. I want to see awesome camera movement in this movie, good story. I want to see awesome lighting and cool effects, of course. It's science fiction. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Oscar winner, Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, Oscar winner for cinematography.
Yep.
Yeah. One can only assume for cinematography. I'll let you say your piece about this movie, but that's what I mouthed to the camera. I knew you were going to pick it.
Yep.
I have a list of 3 movies that I guess that you would pick. This is one of them. Once you said visual aspect, I knew this is one you were going to pick. But I think that this is arguably, and I was saying this earlier today relating to this draft, arguably the best looking movie ever made.
I'd be on board with that.
I think it's probably the best looking live action movie ever made. The lighting is just so good.
I could get on board with that as well. I feel like I like this movie the further I get away from watching it, and it makes me just want to watch it again.
I've said before, I think when we did our Blade Runner 2049 episode, check out that review, but I think I said already that I would watch this movie on silent. Like,
yeah.
I'm not in love with the story of this movie. That's where I'll knock it. Mm-hmm. But I will watch this movie with no audio. Just, it's so beautiful. I've seen it twice already, and I'll go back to watch it again and again, despite the fact that I don't even like the story that much. But the cast is really, really good too. The performances are phenomenal. Ana de Armas, Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, Jared Leto. The actress who plays Love is really, really good too.
That's almost like a testament to how well this movie was made. If like the story it maybe isn't like one of your favorite stories, but you want to go back to it just because of like the way it looks. And to me, that's a big aspect of these sci-fi movies, is that world building.
Yeah.
It's
a 10 out of 10 visually. I couldn't think of anything that surpasses it.
If you can go past a 10 out of 10, it would be that.
It's 11 out of 10.
It looks phenomenal. You can literally pause at any point and it could be a screensaver wallpaper. It could be shown at universities of how to set up a shot, how to do lighting, how to composition, set design, like literally any aspect of filmmaking. You could pause a frame and teach off of that.
And there is a color scheme in it of like blue and orangish yellow.
Yeah.
But you can also see like a whole litany of other colors throughout the movie used so well, like
purples. Yeah.
It's just stunning. Like oh my God, I gush over how beautiful this movie is.
Yeah, I agree.
Roger Deakins, man. Roger Deakins knows what he's doing.
It's his best work. I mean, we just talked about.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about it being one of the best visually made movies ever. So like.
But he shows that like he can do, like Coen Brothers movies, and he can do Prisoners, but like, oh, you want to like, he's an older guy, like but it's like, hey, you want to come do a sci-fi movie, and he'll knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
Like beautiful. Like, he can do whatever you need him to do. He'll
Yes.
light a damn scene.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, Andrew, going to your first pick of the draft. Who is the star of your team?
My number one pick is a mistake that I will not make twice. My first round draft pick for the science fiction draft is The Matrix.
Nice.
I, of course, am referencing Aaron stealing The Matrix from me in one of our previous drafts.
Yep.
What draft was that?
Let me look back through my notes here.
Action movie draft.
Yes.
So
that's what it
action
was.
movie draft. I miscalculated, and Aaron took that one off the board. And I gotta get this movie. The Matrix is in my top 10 movies of all time. Probably my top 5. Definitely my top 5. I love this movie. Watched it 100 times growing up, and just a revolutionary way that they filmed action. And the
Episode 113.
episode 113. Check that episode out. The action movie draft. But
We fought a lot in that one. We argued a lot.
But the Wachowski siblings just made a beautiful movie. I mean, made a huge star out of an even bigger star out of Keanu, because I think he had already done Speed and some other great movies. But this, like, he went even further with this. This movie was huge. Came out in 1999, and which is a phenomenal year for movies. But this movie's cream of the crop that year. It's up there with the best of them. And the sci-fi elements are so good, like the agents being the manifestation of the program and having to fight these things that can work outside the programming of the Matrix, and Neo being the chosen one, and fulfilling his destiny and breaking outside the programming himself for the epic ending scene. Like, this movie's just sci-fi at its peak. They pushed the boundaries by inventing bullet time, inventing new camera tricks with a 360 shot that they did where they slow down, freeze time, and everybody in the movie. So
They were inventive.
dude, Keanu, Lawrence Fishburne,
So many other movies reference this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's in how they set up shots and use multiple cameras and all this stuff, or the story itself, of copying that choice,
It's just an all-timer for
and
me.
alternate world.
Like I said, it's in my top 10 all-time movies, so I had to make sure you didn't get it this time.
I did tell Justin today, I was like, hey, we're doing this draft. Should I pick The Matrix first? Just to spite Andrew. But I went with something that's a little bit more representative of what I would want on my team. So
I think
I let you have The Matrix.
I think Blade Runner 2049 is a great first pick, and I think for our generation, it's like one of the sci-fi movies. I think if you talk to somebody like generation or two before us, it would be the original Blade Runner, and that movie is really cool, and I like the miniature work they did. It has a really cool aesthetic, but for us, definitely for our age, Blade Runner 2049 is the move.
Well, hopefully fans of the first one appreciate the second one,
And I think they do. I think that's one of the, like, Denis Villeneuve, who directed that movie, like, I think he did a really good job of making a movie in the same verse and respecting the original movie, and like not doing anything to tarnish the original movie. I think like he made such a good sequel, one of the best sequels of all time.
Yeah. I like these first two picks. I feel like they were both highly predictable.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to take The Matrix. Like you said, you had 3 picks that you knew that I was going to pick. This was one that I knew that you were going to pick as early as you possibly could, mainly because of your mistake of not picking it last time, thinking you could get it in 5th. So it seems like my research, or maybe
Your scouting.
yes, my scouting has impacted your decision making.
As we do more and more drafts, we're only going to be more knowledgeable of each other. So the question of the draft is whether I want to choose something to make me happy or to make you upset. And that's like where it gets tricky with what your order of your picks.
Right. Yeah. No, because, and so then you also have, so you have that, right? Because it's like, all right, do you want to steal someone's player, or do you want to go with what you want? But then
if I steal your player, then I'm at risk of you taking somebody I wanted the very next turn. That's the lesson I learned in the action movie.
That's what I just did with this. Like, if I took The Matrix and you took 2049,
then
I feel like I would have been like, like there was something in me that was like, oh man, I really wish that movie was on.
It's like give a
my side.
give a punch, take a punch.
Right. But then you also, when you're playing this draft, like, do you pick a pick that's personal to you, that's something that you really like, or pick that the audience is going to vote for? because there's a lot of popular picks out there that maybe like aren't my favorite or aren't your favorite.
The tough thing is you really want to find something that's both.
Yeah.
Like The Matrix, I think has a lot of audience love, especially in like the film community. Matrix, I think, is held up on a good pedestal and has cemented its place in history, which is something The Matrix has over like some other things in the science fiction genre. Is like they did this in 1999.
Yeah. Okay, my next pick checks off quite a few of these like bullet points that I mentioned from the 7. It is a movie that captured my attention all the way through. We're traveling through different locations, different times, different mindsets, and consciousness. And that movie is directed by one of the best directors out there, which I'm sure a lot of these movies are going to be. But this one I know is one of Andrew's favorite movies, but it's also one of mine too. So I'm happy to have it on my team, and that is Inception.
Yeah. Man, I didn't think you were going to go for that early. I mean, there's a pick that I know you want that I know you're going to save for 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I don't want it at all.
I feel like that gave it away a little bit. That's funny. No, I feel like you slightly underestimate how much I like Inception. Probably because I just don't talk about it as much, But I really love the complexity of this movie, but also the ability to understand it at the same time.
It gives it a really good rewatch factor.
Yeah.
You get to learn new things when you rewatch it, notice new things.
Like the first time watching it through, you feel like you have a good grasp of what's happening, but then you're like, but I'm still curious about how this worked, or like I have some questions about how this happened. And then that adds to the rewatchability of this movie. And then also like the camera work is amazing, the effects is amazing, and the acting is like through the roof, like just the building folding up, the effects. Like Nolan doesn't use a lot of special effects in his movies or visual effects, and he did it perfectly in this movie. This to me is my favorite Nolan movie, so I feel like it had to go on my list in number 2.
Yeah, I mean it's up there with my favorite Nolan movie. It's up there with The Dark Knight, and I really love I really love Inception. The sci-fi elements are brilliant because it's like this dream fantasy world, but like there's like rules because Nolan always has rules. So that's what I love about his universe. And Ariadne's such a good character, played by Elliot Page, and Cobb is such a good character. The cast is one of the most insane casts you'll ever see. I mean, Elliot Page, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, stacked. Cillian Murphy, Michael Caine's in there. Like, it's so good. And everyone wants to work with Nolan, obviously, as we can tell from Oppenheimer. But it's just a movie that it's one of those movies that you can watch for entertainment value. You can watch for substance. You can watch for performances. You can watch for visuals. It's like, that's why I love Nolan as the whole package. And that's why I can come back and watch that movie, multiple times a year. I
feel like this kind of helps balance out the Blade Runner pick with having an exceptional story to the sci-fi elements.
It's got twists and turns. Like when they're like, oh, we're like this many layers deep into the dream, and like now we get stuck in limbo if we die, and they're like, you didn't tell us that, and it's so.
And of course, you got the spinning hallway, like just the use of practical effects in combination with everything else, with the camera, the set design, the VFX that are happening. Like it's very well done.
It's just like this sci-fi epic, but with like the gritty action, like fist fighting, gun fighting. Like there's machine guns, pistols. Like it's dope as hell.
Yeah, and it's a fast-paced movie too. There's something always happening, even at the slow parts. Like the dialogue is very engaging, and that's something that I appreciate in a movie.
Obviously, a masterwork of visual effects. But
I'm curious, did you have this on your list? Like, were you wanting to pick this? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but
yeah, I was going to pick this next. Yeah,
okay.
I'll own up to my truth.
Okay, cool.
It's written as number 2. I mean, it's written as number 2, but number 2 or 3 gone either way for me.
I feel like this list for me too is kind of.
I may have picked my what I have written as 3 next because I wasn't sure Inception or this one I'm about to pick, which one is more dangerous for you to pick first.
Sure.
That's like the main reasoning because these top 3 movies are all in my top 10 movies, literally of all time. So I'll unveil my third pick as we're moving on.
Your second pick.
I'm sorry, yeah.
What I had third on your list? Yeah.
Will be my second pick for my team is Jurassic Park by Steven Spielberg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's. I feel like this one might have been a little bit safe. I don't know how high you would have had this on your list. I feel like, but I just ultimately couldn't forgive myself if you took this one too, knowing, like I said, that it's on my top 10 movies literally of all time. Jurassic Park came out in the 80s and just visually still holds up to this day and tells one of the most like intriguing sci-fi stories about the main question in the movie. Just because we can do it, does that mean we should do it? You know, the boundaries of scientific discovery, whether you should play God in something like bringing extinct species back to life. So it's just an incredibly interesting story, and obviously it stood the test of time to the point of even a $1 billion sequel franchise with Chris Pratt coming out. That's how much audiences love this movie.
Yeah, this is a solid pick.
Solid understatement of the year.
This is a fantastic pick.
It's so good. The first one's still the best somehow.
I would totally agree with that. The third one's my second favorite.
Actually,
sure.
I called it an 80s movie. I'm stupid. I think it came out like 1990, so it's a 90s movie.
Yes. I didn't even catch that.
I would have got eviscerated.
Yeah, for some reason, I didn't actually have that on my list at all. And it's not because it's not a good pick, but
think of it as sci-fi.
Yes.
That's why I thought it might have been safe, but I didn't want to risk it.
Like, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, that's a fantastic pick. You're in a different world. It obviously can't happen in real life, I don't think. And
I mean, they're bringing... according to you, they're bringing back the woolly mammoth or something.
I know. So, yeah, that's a good pick, and I'm frustrated that I didn't even have it on my list. You know, my scouting department definitely let me down on that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that upsets me obviously because it makes me feel like I could have got it at 5, but it deserves a high spot. It does. It's deserving.
It does.
It's like
people would look at your team and be like, in fifth, you don't respect it.
This is my absolute favorite Steven Spielberg movie, which is saying something because he's done so many great movies like Schindler's List, Catch Me If You Can, you know, E.T. Like he's done so many iconic movies for the ages, and this movie just has an air of like adventure that movies really don't excel at anymore. Like, and it's a thriller about dinosaurs hunting down and killing people, but it's also an adventure movie and like building these bonds between like Alan and the kids. Like it's Dr. Alan Grant, such a good character. Dr. Ian Malcolm, such a good character. Like they made truly unique characters. And what's the other doctor's name? I'm struggling. Ellie? I'm gonna look it up. But what's going to be your next pick?
I feel like after my second, I didn't really have
Ellie
them.
Statler. I was right, by the way. It
Nice.
was Ellie.
I didn't really have like an order picked. So now we get into my indecisiveness of how like personal to me do I want to get, how kind of outside of the box do I want to get. I feel like a lot of these that I have on my list, you do not have on yours. So I feel like I could get away with pretty much all of these as like my fifth pick. Because
I'd be surprised if you had 3 more picks that weren't on my list, any of them. I'd be kind of surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't heard you talk too much about these in the past or something. I don't know. But my next movie I'm going to put on is a movie that is like a little bit different of a tone. I don't know. It's just a really good movie. And that's going to be I, Robot with the man himself, Will Smith.
You would be surprised to know, good sir, that is on my list.
Got him.
Yeah, no, I, Robot's a really good pick. Me and my grandma used to watch that movie together a lot.
Yeah.
Like, because I'd go over to their house every weekend or so, and we watched a lot of Die Hard. We watched a lot of Will Smith movies. I, Robot is like one of my favorite Will Smith movies.
Yeah, I feel like it's so simple in a sense that like I kind of overlook it sometimes. But then every time I rewatch it or get reminded of it, I'm like, oh, that's a fantastic movie. And it's one of Will Smith's best.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, opens up interesting questions about artificial intelligence and what makes something alive. That's what's cool about these sci-fi movies, is asking big questions, like The Matrix asking like, what is real other than our brain's interpretation of what's real. Jurassic Park asking, what are the limitations of human scientific boundaries? And now you've got this movie asking the question of like, is Sonny alive? Is Sonny,
Right.
are his thoughts real, or is his programming designing potential thoughts? Is our brain any different than Sonny's brain if it's just an advanced program? So
Yeah.
like really cool questions. iRobot does it like in such a cool way because it's delivered through Will Smith and the insane amount of charisma and magnetism that he has. And like I said, I watched The Creator yesterday, and The Creator reminded me of iRobot so much, but Will Smith on screen just elevates iRobot to such a different level.
Yeah, and at least from memory, like all the effects and stuff hold up today. You know, like it's a well shot, well produced movie. The acting's incredible.
I think
But then it's also like very relevant to the time that we're in now, where AI is becoming a part of our everyday lives. At least for me, as like someone in video and in editing and stuff, like it's something that I use almost every day. It's talked about almost every day. Like it poses a lot of real questions of the morality behind it, and that's what this movie is doing.
a thing in iRobot is robots doing human jobs.
Yeah.
And that is something we're literally running into. And
Yeah.
I think the timeline of iRobot, I don't think we've reached the date of that period yet. Because I remember it being really far in the future, like
Let me look it up.
2100 or something
When
like that.
did iRobot
My guess is it's in the 2100s.
take place?
Could be wrong.
2035.
Oh, we're close.
We're like right around the corner.
Yeah, we're super close.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it has a lot of relevance
was right that we
today. This
haven't
came out in 2004, so it's definitely talking a lot about things that are happening now.
Yeah, but
You know?
that movie it has really good action. The tunnel sequence where he's driving and fighting the robots.
Yeah.
Sonny looks so cool. I love the scene where he's like in the robot warehouse and he's like pointing guns at them and shooting them. He's like, they're nothing but metal parts and programming. And then you get that little peek from Sonny in
Yeah.
the hallway, and he's like, got him. And like that, like the movie, it just works. The writing is really good. The action's really good.
Yeah.
And I like the investigative aspects. So much fun.
So a funny thing, I was actually reminded about iRobot earlier today when we were talking about The Creator. You said that The Creator reminded you of iRobot, and I was like, oh my God, that is the perfect pick. I'm going to add that to my list, and I'm going to draft it before you.
I didn't have to say that. Why did I open my mouth, dude?
go.
Why did I don't know, man.
And it's in my third place spot, which is where I stole The Matrix from you last time.
As I was saying it out loud, I was thinking he's probably already thought about iRobot as a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Like as I was saying it, I was like, he's probably.
Yeah.
So I was.
It's kind of like saying Captain America when we're doing like a superhero draft. You know, it's like it's on there.
I
But,
don't
yeah.
know. That's a good pick though. I don't know that it's not like on my top 5 probably all
Yeah,
time.
I know you're talking it down now that you don't have it. I know.
It's on my top 11. Like I wrote it in at number 8, but it's not super ironclad.
Right.
All right, so let me get my next pick. For my third pick in the sci-fi movie draft, it's tough. It's tough. Oh, I think
There's just so many options, right?
there's still a really good one left on the board that deserves top 3. For my third place pick, I'm gonna go with Back to the Future.
Oh, nice.
You say, oh, like that's another one you didn't have on your
I
list,
didn't.
bro? What is your list?
Dude, I just got back from vacation. I didn't have a ton of time to look into the list. I was camping. I didn't have service. I wasn't thinking about
literally
this.
were like,
I'm telling
you
you.
were going down a list of what makes sci-fi, and you were like,
I know.
time travel, and your brain didn't go time travel, Back to the Future.
I've only seen Back to the Future once.
Bro, I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, I've only
The whole
seen it once.
trilogy I've seen so many times. Mostly the first 2, but like they're all really, really good, all 3 of them. And this movie, again, like I said with Will Smith's star power in relation to iRobot, is just a testament to how good like
Yeah.
Marty McFly is in this movie,
Yeah.
dude. He's
I was
so
just
good.
drowning in options for this draft that I overlooked this one too.
I can't believe you missed it. I mean, this movie, I believe, came out in 1985 because that's the year that's the year the story takes place in. Yep, 1985. And
They travel what to
sorry, Michael J.
2015?
Fox. I said Marty McFly. That's his character.
They travel to 2015, right?
In the second movie, they go to the future. In the first movie, they go to like 1965.
Yes,
they go,
that's right.
Or 55 even, maybe. They go back in time. But in the second movie, they go to the future. to explain it's called Back to the Future because they go to the past.
Yes.
And then the plot of the movie is to get back
Yes.
to the future, which at that time, the future would have been 1985.
Yes. Beautiful.
Beautifully explained. But oh my gosh, dude, Dr. Emmett Brown and Marty McFly, such iconic characters. Like everybody knows their name. Like 1.21 gigawatts. Where we're going, we don't need roads. Like it's so iconic, so quotable, so much fun. They did it in 1985. Like I already complimented. Like The Matrix did it in 1999. Jurassic Park did it in 1990, but Back to the Future did it in 1985, and it still looks so good. The DeLorean's such a cool car, so iconic. The movie is so much fun, just pure adventure, and it's on the back of Michael J. Fox and his like fun, boyish charm in this movie. But Christopher Lloyd, hilarious as well. Like him as the manic scientist is just so much fun, and they told what was at the time like the basis for time travel movies. Like they originated that and they made it cool. So this is like the sci-fi movie. Surprised it even made it as far down as 3, but just so much entertainment value. I could watch this movie 100 times.
Yeah, you're coming up with a classic list.
Yeah. And this is also...
None of your movies have come out in the 20th century.
This movie's directed by Zemeckis, who directs Top Gun Maverick, one of your favorite movies of all time.
I didn't know that. That's really cool. Okay. Going on to my 4th pick here, we have a lot of options that I'm staring at. I feel like you have all the kind of classic movies on lock, so I'm going to go with a more recent movie.
Yeah, you're all post 2000s, and I'm all pre 2000s.
Yeah, I'm kind of contrasting your team, if you will, which I like kind of having like a little bit of a theme to a team, you know? And this one, I feel like, again, checked off a lot of the 7 aspects that I was looking at as my criteria. And it won 7 Oscars.
I have my guess for this one also.
All right, you want to say it? You don't want to give it away. So this one actually came out last year, and it was the talk of the town all year long.
Good pick.
And that is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
EAO, yeah. Directed by the Daniels.
Yep.
Which I think that's so funny that they get called the Daniels because that's their first names. They just happen to both have the same first name.
That's funny.
But awesome movie, awesome cast. I mean, Ke Kwan kills it. Michelle Yeoh, so good starring in this movie, puts this movie really on her back. And then an Oscar for Jamie Lee Curtis for this movie too, which I would have thought Stephanie Sue would have got an Oscar for her supporting roles. She's so good. This movie's just so much fun visually. Like the mechanics behind this movie of how they got the shots where like they're super speeding through like the cities are just so much fun. You've seen that video? They show how like they strapped the recorder to somebody, just like walked through the city and then like played it at high speed and like strung it together and like used special effects.
I haven't seen that.
I'll show you later. It's so cool the way that they got these shots for the movie to like just give like this aspect of like zooming through different worlds. And there's the creativity in this movie is insane. I don't love like the really silly parts like the hot dog fingers.
Right.
But it's fun that they did all that in a movie and won Best Picture doing it, you know?
Right.
Like hats off to them.
They broke the mold.
Yeah,
you know, in a way.
The rock scene is so good. And you like cry at rock.
Yeah, like what? How did that happen?
How'd they do it?
How did they get me here to this point right now?
Like busting out laughing. She's like chasing her as a rock.
Yeah.
He's like, get away from me. No.
Yeah.
The overall story of love, like across different dimensions, and like the power of family, like.
Yeah, I just love the editing and how they showed like breaking from one universe to the other and like the transitions that they did, like when she's in the closet and the screen just like cracks and you see her kind of phased out into both sides of the screen. Like it just looks so good.
Dude,
and they edit it in Premiere and After Effects. Like that's something that's like so accessible. Yeah. So many people use that. It just makes it feel like grounded in that like anything's possible, you know, with just like creativity and a good direction. And that's something that I really love about this movie is that someone just had an idea and they just went out and made it. And it ended up winning 7 Oscars. Like that's freaking awesome.
An A24 movie on like a relatively low budget. Like when you compare it to like the latest Marvel movie and how good it looks, it's crazy the budget that they work with for that movie. And then the shot that I was thinking of when you were talking
$14.3 million budget.
Ridiculous, dude.
What
They're
in the world?
Making the Flash for $250 million.
Yeah.
And
like this is a movie that is possible for us to try to do something with, like in terms of like editing effects and stuff. It requires a lot of resources, but it's like it's achievable. It's something that's there. But at the same time, they did it so well and creatively that it's like not just anyone can do it.
Dude, those shots where behind Stephanie Sue's head, where she's
Yeah.
and like traveling between dimensions.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so cool. So many. Like you said, I love the camera movement aspect of cinematography. That movie is just like on the mountaintop with a few others in that arena. The writing's also really cool. Performances are great, and the action is stunning. This is a movie I feel like wouldn't exist without The Matrix. I have to mention that for my team. This movie obviously heavily inspired by The Matrix in terms of like traveling dimensions and like the way that people are like plugging in. They're literally like uploading skills in this movie the same way that they like upload skills in The Matrix.
Yeah. I mean, The Matrix only won 4 Oscars. So like
The Matrix was competing in 1999. The Matrix was competing in like possibly the best year in all of film history. Like American Beauty came out that year. Like so many, look up 1999, dude. I'm telling you, it's competing in like the most contentious year of like the best ever movies.
Going on to your 4th pick here. What are you thinking?
For my 4th pick, it's still there. It's still there, so I gotta give it the love. I'm gonna go with Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, nice.
The second movie in the original trilogy of Star Wars. What kind of sci-fi draft will we be doing here? Like, they revoke our draft license if we didn't put a Star Wars movie on a sci-fi draft. So
yeah.
Empire has to go on there. It's probably the best Star Wars movie ever made. For me, it's Empire, Rogue One, and Revenge of the Sith. Top 3. And Empire is just like, again, like Blade Runner, the miniature work, the lighting, like doing this in like, what was it, the late 70s, early 80s for Empire. Like, they made such a good movie, told a really good story. And
sticks with your theme too.
Yeah, I'm
pre-2000s.
I'm still pre-2000s. I thought maybe I could take EEAO to modernize my team, but you took it, so
got him.
Put me in my place.
Yeah. I did not have any Star Wars movies on my list, not because they're not great, not because they're probably going to bring in a lot of fan votes, but to me it's just I wanted to pick other movies. I wanted to pick
Star Wars movies show up on a lot of our drafts.
Yeah, and I also feel like Star Wars has become kind of like superhero stuff. It's almost kind of its own thing in a way, and it definitely encapsulates to me more than just like science fiction. Like it could fit into a lot of other categories, and I know other these movies can too, but yeah, I just didn't have it on my list.
We'd have to explain ourselves to people if we did a science fiction draft and didn't have a single Star Wars movie.
Yeah. I hear it. I also know that you're not that big of a Star Wars fan, so you are just drafting this for votes.
I appreciate Empire.
And like, that's okay. I've definitely drafted things for votes. Like I love to win these votes, but like, just know that Andrew doesn't love the Star Wars universe, like he's not a Star Wars fan.
I would say that Star Wars has probably gone too far, but Empire Strikes Back is from a time where they hadn't. Yeah. And Empire Strikes Back is just also George Lucas.
Prequels or nothing.
George Lucas doing just amazing filmmaking.
Yeah.
I think that he had someone else direct Empire, but he still is like the creator, producing and making the movie.
Definitely a good pick. I can't believe that we're already have one pick left. Like I feel like we could have done like 15.
I mean, I have a huge list of honorable mentions that I want to rattle off.
And I want to keep it to 5, but at the same time, I feel like there's so many movies left that what do I pick? Where do I go from here? Man, I'm kind of stuck here, Do I want to go? Which direction do I want to go here? I really don't know. I'm really stuck. There's just so many options. I only have one pick left.
What do you think it would take to save your team right now? Because I mean, I'm the clear front runner at this point. So what pick is going to haul you into superstardom from here?
Yeah. My gut says to go with this one, so I'm gonna do it. I don't normally like. I feel like this is kind of the same world, and I don't like picking movies that are like too close or like connected to other movies. Because I like my drafts to be kind of diverse, but at least the movie itself is pretty diverse compared to my other movies. but it is directed by the same director as one of my other picks, but he's one of the best all time. So it's a great movie. It's a fantastic sci-fi movie, and I'm glad to have it on my team, and that is The Prestige.
Dude, good pick for the deep cuts. I don't think you're gonna win this one, but I think that you have some damn good picks though. I think that my team is like stronger in terms of like lining up with great movies that also have mass audience appeal.
Sure.
I think Prestige is like a deep cut. Like to film lovers, Prestige is like well known and loved. It's on the IMDb top 100. But to like average audiences, The Prestige isn't as well known.
Right.
Definitely a sci-fi movie, by the way, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's absolutely science fiction elements that make that movie primarily science fiction over any other genre. But phenomenal pick. I mean, I'm never gonna slack you for picking 2 Chris Nolan movies. Like that's my dog right there.
I do recognize that your team has a lot of star power, a lot of
Longevity and
it's got well-known names,
iconography.
But I will say I would definitely rather watch the movies on my list over the movies on yours. Outside of Jurassic Park, I do really love Jurassic Park, and I want to give that pick the credit that it deserves. But so far of your other 4 movies, I would definitely want to watch any of the movies on my list over those. Personal preference might lose me the draft, but I'm very, very happy with my team of these 5.
Dude, I mean, I can't knock you for your picks. Prestige is literally, again, Chris Nolan directing, Michael Caine, Scarlett Johansson, Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale. Like, it's stacked. Christian Bale twice, first of all.
Yeah, that's right.
So the more Christian Bale, the better. Like, I'm watching Vice right now, a movie I would never like except Christian Bale.
Yeah.
So like,
the story is fantastic. You know, like it's again
one of the best screenplays, dude. One of the best screenplays, bar none.
It's again something that you understand the first time watching it, but then the second time you get so much more out of the story. You see things that you didn't see the first time. You see how like the 2 twins are interacting with each other. Like you get to see it all come to play. And
love story is so complicated because he's living 2 lives.
Yeah,
there's a lot of layers like to the story of The Prestige, and it's just so cool. Like the big questions of science fiction of. That's what the best science fiction movies do is make you ponder life's big questions, like him creating clones and then killing them.
Yeah.
Like, is he, it's like what's the ship of Theseus? Like, you know, once you take all the parts away, is he still
right?
What are their names? Oh man, I'm going to look it up.
But like the consuming his desires are consuming him, you know, like he wants to be the best, he wants to beat, you know, his competition,
really
you know, and he does so by compromising who he is, by compromising, you know, like the morality of things, you know, like he's blurred the lines, he's crossed that line, you know, just to have a better trick.
It's Alfred Borden and Robert Engler. So, I thought about this when we were talking about Inception, actually. I thought about this movie.
I feel like it's a sleeper pick for sure, but it's a fantastic movie. And again, I'm very excited for my list. I feel like these movies represent like my sci-fi movies, you know, and that's what I wanted for this draft because the category is so broad, you know, but I'm curious to see how you're going to close your draft. You don't have to worry about me taking any more of your picks, but now your hard decision is how do you wrap everything up? Are you going to stay in your theme of post 2000s or are you going to kind of sneak out into the 2000s?
It's really, really tough but I do think all the ones that I have in mind right now are post 2000s. I don't know what.
Are your other teammates going to be okay with that? Are they going to accept the new guy on the block into your team? You know,
he's like the Pat Mahomes. You know, like when he was first drafted, like it's going to be like the new young guy, but they're going to rally around him as a leader.
Yeah, he's going to sit on the bench at first, but there's stardom in there. We don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but he's got the potential. You know, like what do you got for me?
So it doesn't hurt me to just think aloud now because you can't take any of my picks.
Exactly.
So I'm having a hard time because I do really like Ex Machina. I think the screenplay is really strong. It was the first A24 movie I ever watched. It's very enthralling. It's Gareth Edwards who wrote and directed that movie. He also wrote and directed The Creator, which I just watched, and Rogue One. But I really like Arrival. I just watched Arrival this year, another Villeneuve movie that could make the list. And I also like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I'm thinking about Men in Black as well. I think those. I mean, Interstellar, of course, is in contention if we want to get a third Chris Nolan movie on the
Sure,
block.
but I already got that locked down. So like,
You have 2 Chris Nolan movies.
yeah.
Yeah.
To me, there's only one movie that fits the theme of your team, at least.
From what I just mentioned, what Men in Black, because it's a little bit older. It's still post 2000s.
Yeah. When did it come out?
I'm really not sure what 2002 to 2004.
Yeah.
I feel like
It makes sense.
Will Smith was in his bag in that region. Oh,
Right.
it's 1997.
Okay, so I was right. I thought it was past.
Yeah, the second
was under.
The second one's 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I mean,
Picked your team for you.
that's a pretty good decision maker. I mean, I feel like that's a very, very good sci-fi movie.
So
Yeah, let's go with it. So for my number 5 pick, I'm gonna go with Men in Black.
and I want to take note that I picked that for him. He couldn't do that on his own. I had to help him. He had to come over to me, to my he went to my sideline.
Did I come over to you?
Yeah, you came over and you were like, "Hey,
Did I ask you a question?
I'm on my sideline here."
I don't remember talking to you. I was talking to the audience.
No. You
about my pick.
Nope. You came over. You were talking out loud, and you heard my decision making, and you picked it based off of my idea.
What would have been
You had to go to the other team to get help.
been bad is if I didn't pick Men in Black to avoid letting you make the decision, and I picked something else in spite because I make my own decisions. I don't let you change what's on my list. So
I mean, you mentioned it like third.
I'll take a full
Fourth.
Well, I wasn't picking them in the order. Otherwise, I would have just picked the first one, which I said was Ex
Right,
Machina.
but you were indecisive, and I helped you decide, to help your team. So, like, you couldn't have done this on your own.
So basically, Aaron suggested Men in Black. So Aaron likes Men in Black. So Aaron likes my team.
No, I like
is what
the
I'm
theme.
hearing.
I like the
Aaron
theme.
likes the fact that I have 5 movies.
But I had
all
to
that
keep
came out
you
before
focused, So, like, if you do win, part of that's because of me.
I mean, a win's a win by an inch or a mile, so I'll take it no matter what.
We'll see what happens.
Losing's losing too, so you'll have to
We'll see what happens.
live with your failures and my successes. But Men in Black is such a truly special movie. Like, I really love that opening chase sequence. Not the opening of the movie, but because the opening of Men in Black is when they're in that like cornfield and fighting those aliens off. But I like that chase sequence where we get introduced to Will Smith's character because it's just so much fun. And we got Will Smith on the list here twice now because it just shows like how late 90s, early 2000s, like Will Smith, not that he's not special outside of that arena because he's still the Fresh Prince. He's still got a lot of good movies post 2010. But that region of Will Smith was where
Peak.
It was absolute peak, in my opinion. Like that era, he
Top
was
actor
so
at
good.
the
Like,
time, yeah.
Bad Boys 2, Men in Black, like iRobot, those
Independence Day.
movies, yeah, those movies. He is like the embodiment of entertainment. He was top of the world.
Yes.
Who was a bigger star than Will Smith in that era?
No one.
So this movie has his star power mixed with Oscar winning Tommy Lee Jones and like his gravitas that he brings like a little bit of seriousness to the movie, but also proving his comedic chops because like he's like Robert De Niro in Meet the Parents where he's like serious, but it's like still part of the comedy. Like, and he's in on it. He's so good at it. Like the dynamic between when you have a movie with a duo like that, the dynamic really has to work. And obviously they made a trilogy, so their dynamic worked. So like Men in Black is just a freaking blast. The world they create so much fun with all the different alien species. And like that roach villain, like still grosses me out just to even think.
The
about
effects still hold up today.
It looks really good.
Where he's like crawling in his skin, like it looks so real.
Dude, how great is that scene where he's like getting to audition basically for the Men in Black, and he's like shoots the little girl, and he's like, well, this guy's just over here, like he's just reading, he's just minding his own business. Now the little girl out here with advanced chemistry textbooks in the middle of the night in the ghetto, what is she doing out here? So I'm wondering, like that's so funny. It's so like when he grabs the table, and he's like dragging it over to himself to write on, like how he wins them over with just like being himself. It's
When Will Smith's acting, it's like he's not acting.
dude, it's effortless.
It's just he's just on screen. Like people are just catching him being the character that he's playing.
He's funny, he's enticing, and most of all, you love him.
Yeah.
Like you root for him. You're like, this guy's great. Like he's a cool
He
factor.
could slap someone on live TV and people still love him.
Still support him. Like he honestly can get away with a lot, dude, because he is just beloved by America, beloved by everybody. Like I said, it's that cool factor. It's like he makes you want to be him,
Yeah.
Because he's like so cool.
Yep, for sure.
Great movie.
All right, let's recap our list. So
And then I want to do the honorable mentions.
okay, sounds good. I, Aaron, have Blade Runner 2049 as my first pick. My second pick was Inception. Third is iRobot. Fourth, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And fifth, The Prestige.
Excellent set of movies, Aaron.
Thank you.
And I, Andrew, have The Matrix, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, and Men in Black.
Very nice. So now the audience, you guys have to vote. Who won? Who has the best collection of sci-fi movies? Is it myself, Aaron, or is it this guy over here, Andrew?
Leave a comment. Tell us why you like my team. Tell us like maybe where Aaron slipped up, where he stumbled. Was it the first pick or was it later on in the draft? Like, just let us know what you think about our picks.
Yeah. And McNeil, how did we do?
Seriously,
This was your show.
Let us know what we missed, but I will start getting to what we missed with these honorable mentions.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I have a lot, so just let me know if you have any that I didn't have. Okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
So here are the ones that we didn't say. I already mentioned. Here's the ones we didn't pick.
Yep.
I already mentioned Ex Machina, and I mentioned Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Arrival.
Yep.
But also Total Recall, the remake.
That's a good one.
The remake for me.
Yeah,
Colin Farrell.
same here.
So good. Real Steel.
All right. I'm about it.
The Creator, which I just watched, and Aaron hasn't got to see yet. Dread, the remake again with Carl Urban. That's why I love Carl Urban originally. Looper, which is with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. Interstellar, Donnie Darko, Mad Max Fury Road, Riddick, all three of the Riddick movies, but I'd probably say especially Pitch Black is the coolest, and Chronicles has the best action. About Time, which is actually a really interesting sci-fi romantic comedy. Wall-E, Treasure Planet,
Okay.
Get Out.
Just watched Treasure Planet
like-
last week.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Fantastic.
I tried to watch it last week, but I tried to put it on for my nephew, and he like wasn't having it. He was like, "Put on Pokemon," and I was like,
What is wrong with that kid?
I don't know.
Jeez.
I'm sending him back to his parents. But Get Out, which I feel like is kind of a sleeper pick because maybe not initially thought of as sci-fi, but a very good movie. And Men in Black, which I ended up picking. So that's
Nice.
I don't know why I said that one again.
The list there. Okay, some that you didn't mention. I have The Martian.
Very good movie. Ridley Scott
Yep.
directed.
Yep, I was this close to picking it.
Speaking of Ridley
Every
Scott,
single pick, like I was right there.
speaking of Ridley Scott, also the Alien franchise. So
Yep.
he does really well in sci-fi.
Predator, we also didn't mention at all.
John McTiernan's Predator, I think, is
I put Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I love that movie.
the trilogy.
Yeah,
Like
but
you- like-
Dawn of the
as
Planet of the Apes is the movie
Yeah.
that I'm talking about. It's the first like remake one.
The first, I thought that was Rise. It's Dawn.
Is it Rise?
I thought Rise was the first one.
Whichever one's the first one is my favorite.
With James Franco.
Yes, that one. It might be, I think it is Rise actually. Prestige, which is the one I said. War of Worlds. I want to watch that with you and do a review on that. Dune, I feel like is a new one. I feel like that fit the tone of my team here, but it's also pretty close to Blade Runner. I feel like, but Blade Runner I think does it better.
They're both Denis movies.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Denis is a really good sci-fi director.
Right.
He just makes like Arrival as well. Like you said, he makes such good sci-fi movies.
I have another Tom Cruise, Edge of Tomorrow, where they're just kind of repeating the same story over and over.
Pick
Like
that one.
Yeah.
I know you like it a lot.
it's on my list, and I was very close to picking that in the 5th spot.
I also thought you were going to pick a Transformers movie.
Is that the one of the 3?
Yeah, I thought you were going to pick Dark of the Moon.
Yeah.
because it's like one of your top 10 movies of all time.
Yep. I do like that movie a lot. I also have Source Code
Jake
on
Gyllenhaal.
there as well.
I wrote 2 that I think are going to be maybe commented that we missed. If people might try to tell us which ones we missed, 2 that are like iconic all timers that I think are like meh and like didn't consider for my team. I wrote meh, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Minority Report. I talked about before in our Hot Takes episode how I think 2001 is so overrated and clearly not the best film of all time. Like people treat it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Ugh, don't watch it. It sucks. It's like, it's cool for what it is. It's cool that they made it in a time period they made it. The set design's really cool, but it's just like, it's so boring. But Minority Report also, I just don't like that much. Like,
Yep.
it's cool. It's my least favorite Spielberg movie that I've seen probably.
Fair enough. All right, I think that kind of wraps up our sci-fi movie draft. This was a lot of fun. Again, it was a recommendation. So if you guys have anything else that you want us to try to do for a draft topic, a debate topic, or even a movie review or show review, let us know. We post new full episodes every Monday and Thursday every single week. We're out here grinding for you guys to have some entertainment when we talk about movies and shows and comics and more. Thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap.